The metal door hissed open, and two guards pushed into the interrogation chamber. His scales were dull and cracked, no longer showing the proud blue-green shimmer of a warrior. His breathing was shallow and quick. The guards forced him into a chair that adjusted to his body shape, then stepped back to stand by the door. Three beings sat across from him at a curved table. The first was Ambassador, whose crystalline body reflected light in rainbow patterns. The second was Commander, a towering whose compound eyes seemed to see everything at once. The third was Chief Analyst Ev, a gaseous being contained inside a transparent environmental suit that glowed faintly purple. Stared at the table, he could not meet their eyes. "State your name and rank," said. His voice came from somewhere inside his crystalline structure, echoing slightly. "Scout Officer, 3rd Reconnaissance Division, Imperial Fleet," whispered. His voice cracked on the last word. "You are the only survivor of Omega-7, stated. It was not a question. 17 warships entered the Sol system 6 weeks ago. Only your scout vessel returned. Explain what happened." His hands began to shake. He gripped the edge of the table to steady them. The 3 council members waited. Silence filled the room like cold water. "We thought they were primitives," finally said. "The intelligence reports showed a species barely reaching beyond their own moon. Their technology was centuries behind ours. They had no weapons that could threaten even our smallest frigate. We thought—" He stopped and swallowed hard. "We thought it would be easy." "The Empire is known for its military strength," Eth said, his voice a soft whisper through the suit speakers. "Your warriors have conquered 73 worlds. What could possibly have destroyed an entire?" Looked up, and the council members saw something in his eyes that made them uncomfortable. It was not anger or shame. It was pure terror. "Humans," said, "the humans destroyed us." Leaned forward. "Impossible. Our own scans of Earth showed a primitive civilization. They have basic fusion reactors and crude spacecraft. They have not even colonized their own solar system properly. How could they destroy warships?" "That is what we thought too," said. His voice was getting stronger now, but it held a desperate edge. Fleet Admiral laughed when he saw their planet. He said we would take the system in 3 days. He said the humans would surrender before we even fired a shot. "But they did not surrender," observed. "No," said, "they did not." He closed his eyes, and the memories came flooding back. He could see the blue-green planet hanging in space, beautiful and peaceful. He could see the 17 ships of Omega-7 spreading out in orbit formation. He could hear Admiral's confident voice over the fleet channel. "Tell us everything," Eth said gently. "Start from the beginning. How did first contact occur?" Took a deep breath and began his story. "We entered the Sol system on the 16th day of the 3rd month, standard galactic calendar. The jump was clean. We emerged near the outer planets and began our approach to the 3rd planet. The humans call it Earth. Our sensors detected thousands of satellites in orbit and radio signals coming from the surface. We intercepted their communications easily. They were not encrypted with anything sophisticated." "What did their communications say?" asked. "They were already tracking us," said. "Before we even entered their orbit, they knew we were coming. Their military forces were mobilizing. Their leaders were broadcasting messages to their population. They were not panicking. They were preparing." Clicked his mandibles together, a sign of interest. They had enough warning to prepare. How? "We do not know," admitted. "Perhaps they detected our jump signature. Perhaps they had sensors we did not know about. It does not matter now. What matters is that when we arrived in orbit around Earth, they were ready for us." "Continue," Eth said. "Admiral sent the standard ultimatum. We transmitted it on all their communication frequencies. The message was simple: submit to the Empire or we would destroy them. We gave them 48 hours to decide." "And their response?" Almost smiled, but there was no humor in it. "The response came from a military installation on the eastern continent. A human officer appeared on our screens. His uniform was dark green, and he wore metal insignia on his chest. His face was calm, too calm. He introduced himself as commander of the United Earth Defense Force. "What did he say?" asked. Repeated the words exactly as he remembered them. He said, "We decline your ultimatum. Leave our system immediately, or we will be forced to defend ourselves. You have 1 hour to comply." The 3 council members looked at each other, made a chittering sound that was the equivalent of laughter. "They gave you an ultimatum. A primitive species threatened us." "Yes," said quietly, "and they meant it." "What did Admiral do?" "He was furious," said. "He ordered a demonstration of power. One of their coastal cities would be destroyed. Just one to show them that resistance was futile. The dreadnought Fist of Dominion charged its plasma bombardment cannons. The target was selected. Everything was ready." "Stop talking." His hands were shaking again. "What happened next?" Eth prompted. "The humans fired first," whispered. "Before the Fist of Dominion could release its bombardment, something launched from the planet's surface. Our sensors barely caught it. It was moving at impossible speeds. The weapons officer shouted a warning, but it was too late. The projectile struck the dreadnought's shields." "The shields held, surely," said. "Shield technology is among the best in the galaxy." Shook his head slowly. "The projectile went through the shields like they were not even there. It struck the reactor core directly. The Fist of Dominion exploded 3 seconds later. 5,000 warriors died in an instant. The flagship of ours was gone before we even understood what had happened." The room fell silent. Even Commander had stopped moving. "1 shot," Eth said slowly. "The humans destroyed a dreadnought with a single shot." "Yes," said, "and that was just the beginning. That was when we realized the truth. The humans were not primitives. They had been waiting for us. They had prepared for us. And we had just started a war with a species we did not understand at all." He looked at each of the council members in turn. "You asked me what happened to Omega-7, said. "The humans happened. And if you do not listen to what I have to say, if you do not understand what they are capable of, then the same thing will happen to anyone who underestimates them." The interrogation had only just begun. Took a drink of water from the container the guards had left for him. His throat was dry from talking. The 3 council members waited patiently for him to continue. He knew they did not believe him yet. Not really. How could they? The Empire had never lost a battle against a primitive species. Never. "You need to understand how confident we were," said, setting down the water. "When we first detected Earth, our scientists studied every aspect of the planet. We analyzed their technology, their civilization, their military capabilities. Everything pointed to an easy conquest." "What did your analysis show?" asked. "Earth had approximately 8 billion humans spread across 7 continents. They were divided into nearly 200 separate nations, constantly fighting among themselves over resources and territory. Their most advanced spacecraft could barely reach their own moon. Their weapons were chemical explosives and primitive nuclear devices. They had no energy shields, no plasma weapons, no gravitational manipulation. By every standard measure, they were at least 300 years behind galactic technology." Eth made a note on his data pad. "Yet they destroyed your fleet. What did your analysis miss?" Closed his eyes. "Everything. We missed everything that mattered." He continued his story, his voice taking on a distant quality as he remembered those final days before the disaster. "Admiral called a briefing for all ship commanders. I was there because my scout vessel was assigned to the reconnaissance screen. The Admiral stood at the front of the command center on the flagship, and he showed us images of Earth, cities of glass and metal, oceans covering most of the planet, green forests and brown deserts. It looked peaceful, beautiful even. The Admiral told us that Earth would be a perfect colony world once the humans were removed or enslaved. The resources were abundant. The climate was suitable. The location was strategic for future expansion into that sector of space. He said the Empire would grow stronger with Earth under our control. Then he showed us the battle plan. It was simple. We would position thee in high orbit. We would send the ultimatum. When the humans refused, we would destroy one city as a demonstration. Then we would destroy another, and another, until the humans surrendered or were extinct. The Admiral estimated it would take less than a week. Clicked his mandibles. A standard subjugation strategy. It has worked on dozens of worlds before. Why did it fail with humans? Because humans are not like other species, said. We did not know that then. We learned it too late. He took another drink of water and continued. The first sign that something was wrong came when we entered orbit. Our communications officer reported that Earth's radio signals had changed. The humans were broadcasting military orders on encrypted channels. They were coordinating between their different nations. The humans who had been fighting each other for centuries were suddenly working together. United against a common enemy, observed. Yes, but it was more than that. The speed of their coordination shocked us. Within hours of our arrival, every major human nation had pledged military support to something they called the United Earth Defense Force. They had created a unified command structure. They had shared their military resources. They had done in hours what should have taken months or years. Our intelligence officer tried to warn Admiral. She said the humans were adapting too quickly. She said we should be cautious. The Admiral dismissed her concerns. He said fear and desperation often made primitive species cooperate temporarily, but it would not save them. Paused, his expression bitter. Then we sent the ultimatum. I told you about Commander's response. What I did not tell you was how the human officer looked when he spoke. There was no fear in his eyes, no desperation. He looked at us through the like we were nothing more than an inconvenience, like he had expected us and was disappointed we were so predictable. The Admiral was enraged by the humans' response. He shouted that he would teach these primitives to respect the Empire. He ordered the Fist of Dominion to target the human city they called Tokyo. 30 million humans lived there. The Admiral said their deaths would convince the rest of humanity to surrender. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. The weapons officer charged the plasma bombardment cannons. The targeting systems locked onto the city center. I watched from my scout ship, positioned 50,000 kilometers above the planet. I had a clear view of everything. The Fist of Dominion was magnificent, the pride of the fleet. 2 kilometers long, bristling with weapons, protected by shields that could withstand a direct hit from a star's corona. It was impossible to destroy. But the humans destroyed it anyway. He looked at each of the council members. Our sensors detected the launch from Earth's surface. Something had been fired from a location the humans called Korea. The projectile was accelerating at impossible speeds. Our tactical officer tried to track it, but the numbers made no sense. He said it was traveling at 15% the speed of light. Stood up from his seat. 15% light speed. That is impossible for a chemical rocket. It was not a rocket, said. We learned later what it was. The humans call it a mass driver. They built massive electromagnetic launchers on their planet's surface. They used these launchers to accelerate simple metal projectiles to relativistic speeds. No explosives, no energy weapons, just metal moving incredibly fast. The projectile hit the Fist of Dominion before we could react. Our shields were designed to deflect energy weapons and slow-moving missiles. They do nothing against solid matter traveling at 15% light speed. The projectile punched through the shields, through the armor, and struck the reactor core. The explosion lit up the sky like a second sun. The room was completely silent. Eth was writing rapidly on his data pad. His crystalline body had stopped glowing, a sign of deep shock in his species. Sat down slowly. That was when everything changed, continued. Admiral was dead. The flagship was destroyed. The chain of command was broken. For several seconds, nobody gave orders. We just stared at the debris field where the fist of Dominion had been. Then the humans attacked in force. Launches appeared all over Earth's surface. Dozens of projectiles, all moving at impossible speeds. They targeted our heavy cruisers first, then the destroyers. Ships that had survived 100 battles against galactic rivals were torn apart by simple metal. But that was not the worst part. While we were dealing with the mass driver attacks, the humans launched something else. Thousands of smaller objects appeared on our sensors. They were coming from Earth's moon, from hidden bases we had never detected. The objects were moving slower than the mass driver projectiles, but they were maneuvering. They were guided. Missiles asked. Number drones, autonomous fighting machines. The humans had built an entire fleet of robotic spacecraft and hidden them in craters on their moon. They launched them all at once. Our point defense systems tried to shoot them down, but there were too many. The drones adapted to our weapons. When we used lasers, they deployed reflective armor. When we used missiles, they used electronic countermeasures. They learned from every engagement and shared that learning with the other drones instantly. Stood up and began packing, too agitated to sit still. Within 20 minutes, half our was destroyed or disabled. The surviving commanders tried to organize a retreat, but the humans were everywhere. They had weapons in orbit we had not detected. They had submarines in their oceans launching missiles into space. They had soldiers in armored suits jumping from aircraft in their atmosphere, using some kind of rocket packs to reach our landing craft. We had gone from besieging Earth to fighting for our lives, and the humans were just getting started. Commander leaned forward, his compound eyes fixed on. You said the humans were just getting started. What did they do next? Stopped packing and gripped the back of his chair. His claws dug into the metal, leaving small scratches. They boarded our ships, he said quietly. The humans sent soldiers into space to board our ships and fight us hand to hand. Ed's gaseous form swirled in confusion inside his suit. That makes no tactical sense. Why would they risk their soldiers in boarding actions when their ranged weapons were so effective? Because they wanted our ships intact, explained. And because they wanted to send us a message. They wanted us to understand that they could beat us anywhere in any kind of fight, even on our own ships where we had every advantage. He sat back down heavily. I was on the cruiser Wrath of Stars when the humans boarded us. Our ship had been hit by 2 mass driver projectiles. Both engines were damaged. Life support was failing in 3 sections. We were trying to make emergency repairs when the proximity alarms went off. What triggered the alarms? Asked. A human assault craft. It was small, maybe 20 meters long, and it moved like nothing I had ever seen. It dodged our point defense fire and attached itself to our hull. We tried to seal the section, but the humans cut through our armor with some kind of thermal lance. Then they were inside. His hands began shaking again. He clasped them together to keep them steady. Our security chief sent 2 squads of warriors to repel the boarders. Warriors are the best in the Empire. They are trained from birth to fight. They have enhanced reflexes and superior strength. They wear powered armor that can withstand plasma fire. 20 warriors went to meet the humans. I was monitoring from the bridge. How many humans came aboard? 8 said. 8 human soldiers against 20 warriors. He paused, letting that number sink in. The first contact happened in Corridor 7. Our warriors had taken defensive positions behind cover. They had clear fields of fire. When the humans came around the corner, our warriors opened fire with plasma rifles. The corridor lit up with energy bolts. The humans should have been vaporized, but they were wearing armor unlike anything in our tactical database. The plasma bolts hit them and the armor absorbed most of the energy. 1 human went down, but the other 7 kept coming. They did not take cover. They did not retreat. They ran forward, firing weapons that shot solid metal bullets. Bullets, said with disbelief. Primitive chemical projectile weapons. Yes, but these bullets were different. They were designed to punch through armor. 3 of our warriors fell in the first seconds. The rest tried to fall back, but the humans were faster than our warriors expected. One human soldier, a female, led the charge. She was smaller than the others but moved like a hunting predator. Later, I learned her name was Lieutenant. She commanded the boarding team. Closed his eyes, seeing it all again in his memory. Carried a weapon that fired explosive rounds. She shot the power coupling above our warrior's position, and the explosion killed 2 more. Then she threw something that our sensors said was just a simple fragmentation grenade. Basic technology, thousands of years old, but it worked. The corridor was narrow, and our warriors had nowhere to go. The grenade killed 4 more. The remaining warriors tried to make a stand at the corridor junction. They had better cover there and could concentrate their fire. But the humans used tactics we had never seen. They moved in pairs, covering each other. When one fired, another moved. They communicated with hand signals and brief words. They were perfectly coordinated. One of our warriors managed to hit with a plasma bolt. It struck her shoulder, burning through the armor. The injury should have taken her out of the fight. A plasma bolt to the shoulder would disable any warrior, but just switched her weapon to her other hand and kept fighting. She was bleeding inside her armor. I could see it on our security monitors, but she did not stop. She did not even slow down. Her crystalline body was pulsing with agitated colors. How is that possible? The pain alone should have incapacitated her. That is what I thought too, said. But I learned something about humans that day. Pain does not stop them the way it stops us. They feel pain, yes, but they can ignore it. They can fight through injuries that would kill most species. Their bodies have redundant systems. Their minds can override pain signals. They are built to survive. What happened to the rest of your warriors? They died, said simply. All 20 of them. The 8 human soldiers fought their way through our best warriors, took the corridor, and advanced toward the bridge. They left 1 soldier behind to guard the corridor, and 7 continued into the ship. Our captain ordered the bridge sealed. We had blast doors that could withstand explosives. We thought we were safe. Then the humans used something they called thermite. They cut through the blast doors in less than 3 minutes. When the doors fell, the humans entered the bridge. His voice became very quiet. I was there, I saw them up close. They had taken off their helmets by then. I could see their faces. They were breathing hard from the fighting. Blood was running down his arm from her wound. But they were smiling, actually smiling, like this was fun for them. Pointed her weapon at our captain and said something in her language. One of the other soldiers translated. She was ordering us to surrender. She promised we would not be harmed if we. She said we would be treated as prisoners of war according to their laws. Our captain refused. He said the do not surrender to primitives. He reached for his sidearm. Stop talking, the silence stretched out. What did Lieutenant do? Eth asked gently. She shot him, 1 bullet directly between the eyes. He died instantly. Then she pointed her weapon at the rest of us and repeated her demand. This time, we surrendered. The other 7 soldiers moved through the bridge, disarming us and checking us for weapons. They were professional, efficient. They did not hurt us unnecessarily, but they made it clear that any resistance would be met with immediate force. Called for a medic team. Within minutes, more humans arrived. They brought medical supplies and started treating our wounded. They treated their own injured first, but then they treated ours. They gave us water and basic food. They were polite, almost friendly. I asked why they were being kind to us. We had tried to destroy their planet. We had killed thousands of humans. Why show us mercy? Looked at the council members. Do you know what she said? She said that in war, soldiers follow orders. And when the fighting is over, prisoners deserve basic dignity. She said her people had rules about how to treat captured enemies, and these rules had been written centuries ago after their own terrible wars. She said humans had learned that cruelty to prisoners was wrong, and that even enemies deserved humane treatment. I did not understand. The do not have such rules. We are warriors. We conquer or die. There is no middle ground. But the humans had this strange combination of brutal efficiency in combat and unexpected kindness afterward. They could kill you without hesitation and then bandage your wounds minutes later. While we were being secured, I heard reports from other ships. The humans had boarded 4 more vessels. Every boarding action was successful. The human soldiers were unstoppable. They were faster, tougher, and more determined than our warriors, and they worked together in ways we could not match. But the boarding actions were not even the worst part. While the humans were taking our ships, their fleet in orbit was coordinating with forces on their planet. They had satellites that could track every vessel. They had computers that predicted our movements. They had commanders who adapted their tactics in real time. The human military operated like a single organism. Every soldier, every ship, every weapon system was connected and coordinated. When we destroyed one of their drones, the other drones learned from how it died and changed their tactics. When we tried a new defensive formation, their commanders analyzed it and found its weaknesses within minutes. I realized then that we were not fighting a primitive species. We were fighting a species that had spent thousands of years fighting itself. Humans had fought wars we could not imagine. They had developed tactics and strategies through endless conflict. They had turned warfare into a science. And now all that knowledge, all that experience, was focused on destroying us. The interrogation chamber felt colder now. Had been talking for hours, and the 3 council members had not interrupted him once in the last 30 minutes. They were too horrified by what they were hearing. After the Wrath of Stars was captured, the humans took us to a holding area they had prepared, continued. It was a pressurized section of the ship with basic life support adjusted for our biology. Other captured were already there, maybe 40 or 50 warriors. Everyone was injured or exhausted. We had lost. The humans posted guards outside but did not mistreat us. They provided food, water, and medical attention. One of the human medics, a young male, treated my wounds. While he worked, I asked him questions. I needed to understand. How had primitives defeated the Empire? The medic's name was. He spoke our language poorly but well enough to communicate. I asked him about Earth. I asked him why humans were so difficult to kill. I asked him how they had become so good at warfare. Leaned back in his chair. What he told me changed everything I thought I knew about humanity. Said that Earth was what galactic scientists call a death world. I did not know what that meant, so he explained. Earth's gravity is 1.3 times standard galactic normal. Every step a human takes, every movement they make, happens under crushing gravity that would exhaust most species within hours. But humans evolved there. They are built for that gravity. When they come to space or visit other worlds with normal gravity, they are stronger and faster than they should be. Earth's atmosphere is 21% oxygen. Most galactic species find high oxygen levels toxic or dangerous, but humans need that much oxygen to fuel their metabolism. Their bodies burn energy at incredible rates. They can sustain physical activity that would kill other species from exhaustion. Eth interrupted. High gravity and high oxygen. That combination would produce extremely robust organisms, but also violent ones. The evolutionary pressure would be intense. Exactly, said. But there is more. Earth's surface is unstable. The planet has earthquakes, volcanoes, hurricanes, tsunamis, tornadoes, and massive temperature variations. The humans evolved to survive all of it. They can endure heat that would cook most species and cold that would freeze our blood. They can survive injuries that should kill them because their bodies have redundant organs and incredible healing abilities. Told me that humans have 2 lungs when one would suffice. They have 2 kidneys. They can lose massive amounts of blood and survive. Their bones are dense and strong. Their immune systems fight off diseases that would devastate other species. They are built to survive in an environment that tries to kill them every single day. His crystalline body had turned a dark red color, indicating shock. The Galactic Council explicitly avoids contact with death worlds because species that evolve there are considered too dangerous. "Now you understand," said. "The humans are not just technologically advanced. They are biologically superior to most species in ways that matter for warfare. They are predators from a predator world." But their biology is only part of the story. Told me about human history, and that was even more terrifying. Humans have been fighting wars for their entire existence as a species. Thousands of years of constant conflict. They fought with sticks and stones. Then they fought with swords and spears. Then guns and explosives. Then nuclear weapons. They nearly destroyed themselves multiple times, but they always survived and learned from it. Every human nation developed its own military traditions and tactics. Then they fought each other and tested those tactics. The ones that worked spread. The ones that failed were discarded. Human warfare evolved through brutal natural selection over thousands of years. They developed strategy, logistics, combined arms tactics, and psychological warfare. They learned how to coordinate large armies across vast distances. They learned how to fight on land, sea, air, and now space. They have been preparing for war their entire existence, and when we arrived, they simply applied everything they had learned to fighting us. Clicked his mandibles slowly. A species with death world biology and thousands of years of military experience. No wonder they defeated you. "There is still more," said. "The humans have something else, something that makes them truly terrifying. Called it determination or stubbornness. Humans do not give up, ever." He told me about human persistence hunting. Before humans had advanced weapons, they hunted prey by following it for days or weeks until it collapsed from exhaustion. Most prey animals can run faster than humans, but humans can run longer. They can keep going when every muscle screams in pain and their lungs burn and their feet bleed. They just keep going. That same quality exists in everything humans do. When they decide to do something, they will not stop until it is done or they are dead. Sometimes both. Told me stories of human soldiers who kept fighting after losing limbs, of pilots who flew damaged aircraft back to base when they should have crashed, of doctors who worked for days without sleep during emergencies. He said there is a phrase in human culture, "Never give up, never surrender." It is not just words to them, it is how they live. Stood up and walked to the window of the interrogation chamber. He looked out at the stars. After I spoke with, I understood why we lost. We were not fighting primitives. We were fighting a species that evolved to survive in hell and then spent thousands of years perfecting the art of war. We never had a chance. But the story does not end there. The surviving commanders refused to accept defeat. 3 of our heavy cruisers and 2 destroyers were still operational. They retreated to the outer solar system to regroup. I was still a prisoner on the Wrath of Stars, but I heard the communications between our ships. The senior surviving officer was commander. He ordered the remaining ships to rendezvous near the gas giant Jupiter. He planned to make one final attack on Earth, using nuclear weapons to destroy the human. If we could not conquer Earth, we would sterilize it. But the humans were tracking us. They knew our every move. Their sensors were better than ours. Their intelligence network was better than ours. They knew about's plan before he could execute it. That is when the humans sent their most advanced ship. They called it and it was commanded by Captain. I saw on our sensors. It was smaller than our heavy cruisers but shaped differently. Strange, like nothing in our tactical database. Captain contacted Commander directly. I heard the transmission, spoke perfect, which surprised me. She said that humanity did not want more death. She said we could surrender with honor and be repatriated to our empire. She said the war was over and more killing was pointless. Refused. He said they would rather die than surrender to primitives. He ordered all ships to attack the. That was a mistake. turned back to face the council members. They had a weapon we did not understand. When our ships opened fire, they activated something the humans called a gravity manipulation drive. Space itself bent around the ship. Our plasma bolts curved away. Our missiles were pulled off course. It was like there was not really there, even though we could see it. Then they fired back, but it did not destroy our ships. It disabled them. Precision strikes took out our engines, our weapons, our communications. One by one, our ships went dark. They were alive but helpless. They had defeated 5 warships without killing a single crew member. When it was over, Captain contacted us again. She said that human soldiers would board our ships to secure them and provide medical assistance. She said any resistance would be met with force, but cooperation would be rewarded with humane treatment. She said the war was over. I watched from my holding cell as human boarding teams took control of the last ships. There was some fighting, but not much. Most of our warriors surrendered. They had seen what happened to those who resisted. The entire battle for Earth lasted 6 hours from start to finish. 6 hours to destroy the most powerful military force the Empire had ever assembled. And when it was over, the humans did not execute us or torture us or enslave us. They treated us like prisoners of war, with dignity and basic rights. That is what makes humans truly terrifying. Not just their weapons or their biology or their determination. It is their capacity for mercy even after brutal combat. They can be absolutely ruthless when fighting and absolutely humane when fighting ends. I have never seen another species with that combination. The interrogation chamber was silent for a long time after finished speaking. Ambassador's crystalline body was dim, a sign of deep thought. Commander sat perfectly still, his compound eyes fixed on. Chief Analyst Ev's gaseous form swirled slowly inside his containment suit. Finally spoke. How did you come to be here? How did you escape Earth to bring us this information? Sat down slowly. He looked tired, like telling the story had drained all his energy. I did not escape, he said. The humans released me. They wanted me to deliver a message to the Galactic Council. A message? Ev leaned forward. What message? I will get to that. But first, let me tell you what happened after the battle. The humans kept all prisoners on our captured ships for 2 weeks. During that time, they fed us, provided medical care, and even allowed us to maintain our cultural practices. They assigned human officers to oversee each ship, but these officers treated us with respect. I met Captain during this time. She came to the Wrath of Stars to inspect the prisoner facilities. She was smaller than I expected and older. She had gray in her hair and scars on her hands, but when she spoke, everyone listened. She had the presence of a true leader. Asked if we were being treated fairly. She asked if we had complaints. Some of our warriors were angry and said things that would have gotten them executed in the Empire, but just listened. She did not get angry. She made notes and promised to address their concerns. And she did. Within days, conditions improved. I asked to speak with her privately. I needed to understand. I asked her why humans showed mercy to enemies who had tried to destroy them. Why not just kill us all and be done with it? Smiled slightly at the memory. Said something I will never forget. She said that humans had learned through their own terrible wars that cruelty creates more enemies than it eliminates. She said that showing mercy to defeated foes could turn them into friends. She said humans believed in something called redemption, the idea that even enemies could change. Then she told me about human history. About wars that lasted generations and killed millions, about conflicts that ended only when both sides were exhausted and broken. She said humans had learned that war should be the last option, not the first. But when war came, humans would fight with everything they had. And when war ended, humans would try to build peace. I asked her about the Empire. What would happen to us now? Would Earth demand tribute or territory? Would they try to conquer our worlds? Said no. Earth had no interest in empire. Humans wanted to explore space, make contact with other species, trade, and learn. They did not want to rule over others. They just wanted to be left alone to pursue their own destiny among the stars. Stood up abruptly. That makes no sense. Why develop such powerful weapons if not to conquer? That is what I asked, said. Explained that humans developed weapons because they knew the universe was dangerous. They had listened to radio signals from other civilizations for decades. They had intercepted communications about the Empire and other aggressive species. They knew that eventually someone would come to Earth with hostile intentions, so they prepared. She said humans hoped for peaceful first contact but planned for violent first contact. When we arrived, they were ready for us because they had been ready for years. Everything we encountered, the mass drivers, the drones, the hidden bases, the unified command structure, all of it had been prepared long before we entered their system. Humans are not paranoid, said. They are cautious. They hope for the best but prepare for the worst. It is a survival instinct from living on a death world. Never assume safety. Always have a backup plan. Always be ready to fight. Eth was writing rapidly on his data pad. Fascinating. A species that combines optimism with thorough military preparation. No wonder they survived. After 2 weeks, Captain called me to her office. She said that Earth was going to release all prisoners. We would be given one of our captured ships, the destroyer Swift Blade, and allowed to return home. She said Earth wanted to demonstrate good faith to the Galactic Council and to the Empire. But there was a condition. One prisoner would be released early and given a fast scout ship. That prisoner would carry a message to the Galactic Council, asked if I would volunteer for this duty. She said I had been respectful and cooperative during my captivity, and she trusted me to deliver Earth's message accurately. I agreed. What choice did I have? But more than that, I wanted to deliver the message. I wanted to warn the galaxy about what humans were capable of. 3 days later, I was given my scout ship and allowed to leave. Before I departed, Commander gave me a data chip. He said it contained Earth's formal message to the Galactic Council, along with technical specifications for some of their defensive weapons as a gesture of openness. He said humans wanted to join the galactic community as equals, not as conquerors or as victims. Reached into his uniform and pulled out a small data chip. He placed it on the table. This is the message. I have not altered it or tampered with it in any way. You can verify its authenticity. Picked up the chip carefully, as if it might explode. What did Commander say to you personally before you left? He shook my hand. That is a human gesture of respect. Then he looked me in the eyes and said, "Tell the galaxy that humans come in peace. We want to explore, trade, learn, and make friends. But tell them also that we will defend ourselves against any threat. What happened to was a warning. Any species that attacks Earth will face the same fate. We will not start wars, but we will finish them." Then he smiled and said something else. He said that humans had a saying, "Speak softly and carry a big stick." It means be peaceful in words but strong in action. He said that was Earth's philosophy for dealing with the galaxy. The 3 council members looked at each other. They had a decision to make, and it would affect the entire galaxy. Spoke first. I recommend immediate military quarantine of the Sol system. These humans are too dangerous. We should contain them before they spread. Shook his head and his crystalline body flashed red with disagreement. Impossible. You heard Story. Humans defeated a with weapons they built in secret over decades. If we try to quarantine them, they will resist. How many ships would we lose? How many lives? And for what? They have shown mercy and offered friendship. Eth's voice was thoughtful. I have been analyzing the data provided. Human technology is advancing at an exponential rate. They went from primitive rockets to kinetic kill weapons in 70 years. At their current pace, they will have technology surpassing galactic standard within 3 generations, possibly sooner. We cannot stop them. We can only choose how to interact with them. And there is something else. Eth continued. Humans have spent thousands of years fighting each other. Now they are united. Imagine what they can accomplish if they direct all that energy and determination toward exploration and science instead of war. They could become the most innovative species in the galaxy. Turn 2. You have spent more time with humans than any of us. What is your recommendation? Took a deep breath. Make peace with them. Invite them to join the Galactic Council as full members. Give them respect and friendship and they will return it, but never threaten them, never underestimate them, and never ever attack there, because if you do, you will learn what I learned. Humans are the most terrifying species in the galaxy, not because of their weapons or their biology, but because of their spirit. They simply do not know how to give up. The council members voted. It was unanimous. Earth would be offered membership in the Galactic Council. An official delegation would be sent to Sol System within the month to establish formal diplomatic relations. As the meeting concluded and the guards prepared to escort back to his quarters, had one final question. Did the humans give you any message for the Empire specifically? Nodded. Captain said to tell the Empire that Earth bears no grudge. She said humans understand that soldiers follow orders, and she does not blame warriors for doing their duty. She said if the Empire wants peace, Earth will gladly establish trade and diplomatic relations. But if the Empire wants revenge, Earth will be ready. She also said that all prisoners would be returned home unharmed within 6 months. She said this was a gift to show that humans value life, even the lives of their enemies. The council chamber emptied slowly, was led away to quarters where he would stay until the Galactic Council decided what to do with him. The 3 council members remained behind, each lost in thought. Finally spoke, a new age is beginning, humanity will change the galaxy. Yes, agreed. The question is whether that change will be for better or worse. Eth's gaseous form brightened. I believe it will be for the better. Any species that can show mercy after such a battle has wisdom we can learn from. 3 weeks later, a human delegation arrived at Galactic Council headquarters. The delegation was led by Ambassador, a calm and professional diplomat who spoke 5 galactic languages. She carried formal proposals for trade agreements, scientific cooperation, and mutual defense pacts. She also brought gifts, human music, art, literature, and food. She said these gifts represented human culture and Earth's desire to share and learn. The Galactic Council accepted the gifts and welcomed the human delegation. Formal negotiations began immediately. But every council member who met Ambassador remembered's testimony. They saw the friendly smile and heard the polite words, but they also knew the truth. Humanity had arrived among the stars. They came offering friendship, but they carried weapons that could shatter worlds. They spoke of peace, but they were warriors from a death world who had perfected the art of war over thousands of years. The galaxy would never be the same. And somewhere in a quiet room on Earth, Commander, Lieutenant, and Captain met to discuss the future. They had won the first battle for Earth's place in the galaxy. Now the real work would begin, proving that humans could be trusted, that they were more than just terrifying fighters. But if anyone threatened Earth again, they were ready. Humanity had learned its lesson from the universe was dangerous, peace was precious but never guaranteed. So they would continue to prepare, continue to build, continue to watch the stars. And they would never, ever give up.